little different flavor, a little different strategy, they said, for their training, and a little different focus. So we'll see how that plays out. But here they are again at the national championship. So obviously worked out for them with a really strong season and winning their second straight Mid-Atlantic Rowing Championship. So we are off. This is, again, the second heat of the first eights for Division III.
Wesleyan looked to have gotten a little bit of a good jump out of the gate there. They're ranked currently third coming into this race, Williams second. So, and again, top two out of this heat advance into the grand final. St. Mary's and Wesley, though, are seated one place apart from each other. So again, I think we're going to see a really interesting fight within fights here to try to see who advances straight into that grand final, but also who's going to stack up and maybe rattle some cages before this evening's reps.
Yeah, for sure. Wesleyan with a great start there, and right next to them, Wellesley chasing them down. But early on, still a lot of contact between all crews. Only one that's just a little bit off the back is going to be St. Mary's on that far shore in lane 2. But out in front, it is Wesleyan. Wesleyan taking an early lead by about 2 seats right now over Wellesley. But again, very, very close, very early on. We'll see what our first splits are as we come across the first 500. But right now, just a couple of seats separating those first top 2 boats, Wesleyan and Wellesley out in front, Williams chasing.
In the Williams boat, coxswain Ariana Oppenheimer, she was the coxswain of the 2V last year. She's a national champion. They just passed Tufts in the 2V national championship race last year. And so now she is charging. She has that confidence. And that's what we were talking about with the Williams coach. She said, you know what? We needed that trust. And we asked, well, when did the trust begin? And she said, you know what? At the head of the Charles, they finally bought in. And that catapulted them into a solid winter training block. And a lot of the 2V athletes, they got stronger, they got more confident. They are now in this Williams 1V boat leading the charge. So they are currently ranked second. They are keeping a close eye on Wesleyan, who, are charging this neck and neck between those 2 boats. But it is interesting how athletes develop over the 4 years, and that's exactly what you want.
And it does look like that Williams boat has overtaken Wellesley for that second place position. So now it does look like Williams has moved into that second place spot and are coming up to challenge Wesleyan perhaps for that lead. But Wesleyan still holding on to that top spot just by about half a second right now over Williams. Wellesley back by about 2 seconds. And right now it looks like Wesleyan just really trying.
As through that second 500 of the race, you start to see kind of the experience on the water in terms of the historic nature of the program. Williams has been top 2 12 times, but it's been just a few moments since they were there at the top since 2013. And right now, here we are in the University 8. They come in seated second in that boat, and that kind of the trajectory that Mary mentioned a few moments ago going into the winter, that's the kind of trust that hadn't been seen in the top boat yet. But now that we're 3 years into head coach Paula Thomas being there, now the team is really bought in and we're starting to see the speed happen. 3 core values for Williams out there: love, trust, and excellence. When we spoke with the head coach yesterday, said, what would you want them to go out there and do? And she said, be mavericks on the course, be relentless and take risks. And right now, Williams is the crew that is taking the biggest risk in the middle 1,000 of this race, because they've overtaken the lead from Wesleyan there, who's in the red jersey. So right now, those are your 2 lead crews between Williams and Wesleyan. In those 2 lead positions, you see the Wellesley blue there sitting in 3rd place, but a little bit off of the pace of the 2 lead crews that, again, you must go top 2 to advance to the grand final to avoid this afternoon's reps. We are in the second half of the third 500. We are about to cross into the last 500 meters of the race. The momentum was in the favor of Williams, but when it's about to be 500 meters to go, does Wellesley have another gear where they can go, okay, we're going to bring up the rate a little bit, but we're going to make sure that it moves the boat first. Blades in, tidy it up, because these athletes are not fresh at this point. It's not coming because they are finding 50% more somehow than what they are already giving. It's because you got to stay tidy, you got to stay clean, you got to listen and hope you can hear at this point what the coxswain is saying, rather than being completely ears ringing because all the blood is flowing to your legs, your heart flowing to the major muscles that you need to make this boat go. Tight race between Williams and Wesleyan out in front in the second heat of the third Division III first varsity 8. And look at that, Williams has about a half a length advantage over Wesleyan with 500 meters to go.
Pretty maverick having that composure, and that's what you want. You want cool under pressure, and that's exactly what we saw in the first half of the race. But then also in the second half of the race, when you were starting to do your last 500, there could be a little bit of a dead spot, right? A lot of crews like to move 500 to go to set the tone, but after your move at 500 to go, there's that, I don't want to say waiting period, but it could be an opportunity to sit or give a window of opportunity to, in this case, Wesleyan, but it doesn't seem like they're waiting. They're demanding, and they're going to get ready to do that final 300 or 250 sequence, whatever they're choosing, where they start to ramp it up to the finish line.
You see all three crews still here in the picture, certainly sprinting. They are racing to this line. They are not, okay, top two, we want to go top. No, both of these lead crews want to win this race, and they are fighting with each other, because if they go straight through to the grand final, that means they just get one more opportunity between this row, their next practice, their next warm-up, and the race tomorrow to find a little more speed. This is just, okay, first out of the gate, what does the first picture look like? And now we get to paint on another layer. Right now, red means a go when you see those red buoys, so they are deep into the sprint, and right now they are still neck and neck. If you're a rower in that boat, you don't realize that you have an advantage or not. You don't realize where you are just hunting the line.
Yeah, and at the championship race just a couple of weekends ago, there was only a tenth of a second separating out second, third, and fourth place. So they've been here before. They have been in races that are just like this. They are familiar with this feeling, but as they come across the line, it's going to be Williams onto that top spot, just barely over Wesleyan, and those two crews pushing each other so hard that they have left Wellesley back by about a couple of lengths of open water. St. Mary's continuing to wrap it up there across the far shore, doing a fine job there. St. Mary's in Maryland pulling off with a fourth place finish.
And as Wellesley is crossing that finish line, what I loved about it is they were attacking for the entire race. And that's what we got with Colette Kennedy, who is the coxswain of Wellesley. They came in third position of this race. But stroke seat Ronnie, she was saying, we want to be a sneak attack. We want to surprise people. And so this is their first crack at it. They'll probably have little adjustments that they'll talk about after the race. But that's what I saw from the Wellesley crew in that third position. No matter where they were still attacking, and just, that's what you want to see at the national championship.